is mighty upon me, and no weapon fashioned against me, they shall never prosper. I am blessed of the Lord, his hand is mighty upon me, and no weapon fashioned against me, they shall never prosper. Praying child, godly children we are, never defeated, always winning, believing in fear of God. Praying child, godly children we are, never defeated, always winning, believing in fear of God. Like the holy land, round about your table, children are the heritage of God. I am seeking first the kingdom of God, cause I am a preacher. I gotta pray just to I am a preacher. I am a preacher. Whether I am black or white, I am a preacher. Yes, I have to pray. I am a preacher. Yes, I have to pray. I am a preacher. Jesus got my I am a preacher. I am blessed of the Lord, his hand is mighty upon me, and no weapon fashioned against me, they shall never prosper. I am blessed of the Lord, his hand is mighty upon me, and no weapon fashioned against me, they shall never prosper. Praying child, godly children we are, never defeated, always winning, believing in fear of God. Praying child, godly children we are, never defeated, always winning, believing in fear of God. Like the holy land, round about your table, children are the heritage of God. I am seeking first the kingdom of God, cause I am a preacher. I gotta pray just to I am a preacher. I am a preacher. Whether I am black or white, I am a preacher. Yes, I have to pray. I am a preacher. Yes, I have to pray. I am a preacher. Jesus got my I am a preacher.
Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. God bless you. Welcome to Daily Prayer for Our Children. Wherever it is that you are joining us from, I always like to welcome you in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Good to have you all on board. I hope you've had a wonderful day. And some of you, as always, I have to remember of the global life that we live nowadays. Some of you probably are heading to bed. Some of you are just waking up. And some of you, your day is halfway through. So whatever part of the day you're in, I hope the one that has started has been good, the one that has ended was good, and the one that is about to begin will be a very good one as well, by the grace of God. So we are together again this evening, and I'm not alone. It's long anticipated. She took a break last month. I went some wonderful places that she didn't take me along. So she's back, and I'm so happy to have her back in our midst. So we've got Sister Folakemi waiting patiently in the background for us, and we are ready to go into some more learning on how we can help our sons and our daughters, maybe even our grandchildren on some educational skills that they need to harness and to enhance as well. So please come nearby. One of the good things is you can always go back to this anyway, and you can always catch up on the notes if you need to make some notes, some points, all those things. I do that a lot. I listen while I'm doing something else. So technology has allowed us to be able to do that. So if you don't catch everything, because I don't always catch everything in one go, by the way, so I have to go back as well. So if you don't catch everything in one go, you can always go back and catch some more. So I've got Sister Falakemi in the house, and I'd like to bring her on board so that we can jump in and hopefully maximize what looks like 44 minutes that we've got left. So I'm crossing over to my sister. Everybody, please, if you can help to give a PCC warm welcome to my beloved sister. Again, the sister that went and didn't take me along. So, can you hear me?
Yes.
Good to
As
have you
well.
on board. Even that you're
It is well.
good to have you back. How
Thank
are
you.
you?
I'm very well, thank you. Good to be back. Good
Thank
evening,
you.
everybody.
Thank you. And I don't know whether you brought some goody back, but at least in those days when our parents go somewhere and they come back, they always had something to give us for being at home and keeping the
Happy.
house while they were gone.
True. True.
So wait till you carry come.
I wonder. That is just that.
We give God all the praise. Thank you
Yes.
very much. As always, I appreciate your time and the fellowship that we get to have as well. So I want to hand over to you, Sister Falakemi, so that we can maximize the time. So over to you, ma.
Okay, so welcome back, everybody. Good evening. We're going to be talking about writing today. So I will take it from the very basics and we'll look at the bones and the whole framework of writing and how we can support our children with writing. Now you'd agree with me that without being able to write, even if the child has learned anything, they won't be able to show what they've learned. So writing underpins all of the other things, skills that the children need to learn at school. So
Mm,
writing is very important,
mm,
very vital. So being able to transfer what they know in their head into onto paper or onto a medium to show their learning is
mm,
what writing is all about. Like we've moved on from paper all of the time to so many other ways that children can show their learning, but it starts from writing, from the alphabet transferring it. Even if they're typing, they need to know what they're writing and be able to show that they have understood what they've learned. So let's go to our PowerPoint and we should be able to get through it today.
amen. I like that positive thinking. We should be able to get through it today.
Yeah,
That is,
I've made it, hopefully. So we'll look at writing strategies.
mm,
The first one, writing is not an automatic skill. It's not it's not a natural skill. It's a skill you have to learn. So we can't assume that children will just pick up writing. They would they would scribble. We would look at the stages of writing, but they need to be taught explicitly how to write. So if let's look at the first slide. This is the cover page. It's not easy to learn writing. It's not easy to teach writing. Even most adults that complain about, the writing, the quality of writing that children produce. If we're going to be honest with yourself, most not everybody likes writing. So writing is a complex skill, because when what you're doing when you are writing is you are putting together all your knowledge of the alphabet, the letter names, the sounds, and then you are pulling it together to make words. You're putting those words into sentences, and then you're transferring that from your brain through your hands to whatever medium you're writing with. So it is quite a complex skill. So when we make up a sentence, I'm talking now. Then we make up a sentence. So the girl is standing. I have to be able to remember what T looks like to be able to write the. I have to be able to remember that the is a high frequency word and it doesn't follow the phonics pattern. So there's so many things that are connected. So when you see a young child writing, no matter how poor you think that writing is, please celebrate that child, because what has gone into that is a whole lot of these things that I'm talking about. Transferring the sounds into words, being able to remember what the letter looks like, being able to remember to, that I have to, when I'm writing, I've got to start from left to right, all of those things. So writing is complex. It's a complex set of skills, and is needed for all areas of learning. They will write in geography, they will write in maths, they will write whatever in whatever subject it is they're doing, and outside of school as well. There are just so many opportunities, or so many reasons why we need to write. So writing is a complex skill. Let's appreciate the children who are making an effort to write. I'd say if you have younger children, provide an opportunity for them to write. When we were growing up, it was chalk and slates. Now you have access to pen and paper and all sorts of medium where they can write. I'm not a fan of children writing on walls. So we train the children to write, to we provide opportunities for them to write if they want to write. So encourage them to write, provide felt tips, provide colored pencils. Let's give them an opportunity to write, and it helps them develop. Let's move on. Good evening, Mr. Kate, Mr. Titi, Stephen Kemp. Let's move on. Let's have the next slide. So let's at the back of our minds, let's remember that writing is a complex skill. Can we have our next slide, please? Okay, so what are the so some when we writing can be we can it can just be for a functional purpose, like just writing, write the dates or write your times table, or it can be a creative exercise where they are composing a story, or they're being creative with what they're producing. So, and it's of course it's natural to expect or to realize that children who can write well have a higher self-esteem. The words haven't come on the page, by the way. Children who can write have higher confidence and higher self-esteem. They are more positive in the classroom. They are more willing to try activities. They're less frustrated than children who are struggling to write. Now, take for instance, you want to write the word cat and you can't even remember what a k is. And then maybe you remember the a and you can't remember what a t is. That's a t at the end. Imagine the level of frustration will be experiencing when you are struggling to do that and everybody else around you has gone ahead and written it. So children who are able to write well have better self-esteem. than children who struggle to write. I think we have is are we getting the words on the PowerPoint, or are we going to have to ignore it? Right, okay. That's fine. So let's talk about you know, the gross motor skills. That's the whole body motor skills that we need for writing. We kind of touched on this when we were talking about dyslexia, and also when we were talking about foundations for learning. So next slide. For young children, drawing circles, drawing straight lines. If you look at the letters of the alphabet, we call some of them the curly caterpillar letters because they go around. So the C, the B, the D, and the A, and the O. So when children are young in the early years, they do a lot of drawing circles and straight lines. And when we do handwriting interventions as well, if the child's handwriting is really poor, we have to go back to these basic things of being able to draw a circle. You'll be surprised at how many children can't draw a proper, freestyle circle. And it happens with adults as well. So drawing circles, drawing straight lines for, for letters like L and the capital letters. So children need to practice all of these things. So in PE or game sessions, being able to skip, tennis, hand-eye coordination, those are important skills for writing. Climbing, being able to use their hands. Sometimes we give them, sponge or something to wash, to do movements like that, because all of those movements are important when children pick up a pencil to write. Using ribbons and scarves to make large movements. So sometimes there was a program we used to call Write Dance, and we would have scarves and all of that, and that's basically for nursery and early years. So the children are moving their hands, the movement and dance sessions. Remember that, when children are young, they're still learning to coordinate themselves. So all of those kind of gross body movement skills are important for writing. Building large blocks, those are useful as well. And then we'll go on to the next slide where we'll talk about the fine motor skills. Now, the fine motor skills are the smaller ones. Gross is about the whole body. The fine motor skills, next slide, please. It's about how they use their fingers. So being able to do the pinch using tweezers, because if you're going to hold a pencil, I don't know if I have a pencil near me or a pen, you're going to pinch. Now, you'll be shocked at how a lot of people hold their pen. So we teach these skills like pinch the pencil, flip it over, and hold it properly. So those sort of learning how to hold a tweezer, it's important. So when they pick up a pencil or a pen, they know how to write. Finger rhymes. So we tend to in the early years you count with your fingers, moving the fingers around, chopping, mixing, just using the fingers, play the rolling and twisting, squeezing, so that the muscles of the hand are exercised. Many children, when they write for a couple of minutes, they just go, "Oh, my hand is hurting." That's because they haven't had, that sort of practice that helps them develop their fine motor skills. Okay. Other things like using Duplo, Lego. That's the next slide. Different ways of making mark. We call it mark making. So when they have a pencil or a crayon and they can press it to make a mark. I have taught children who can hold a pencil no matter how dark. Those of us who are older will probably remember the D pencils who were very dark. Some children, you give them a D pencil, you can't even see the marks they've made on the paper because they haven't got the strength on their wrists. So small fine motor skills are really important. Different tools to make marks, not just the easy ones like markers that will make the mark, but pencils, crayons, chalk. so that they're applying the pressure to be able to write. Pegs and pegboards, where they're picking things. Clothes pegs, that's still the pinch. And painting, drawing, and everything. Good evening, everybody. Once again, welcome. Okay, so fine motor skills are important. Now, the next slide, we would look at examples of what writing might look like as the children begin to progress with their writing. Next slide, please. So when children start writing, look at the the writing at the top, that in that little box. That's a child. They will bring it to you and they'll say, "Oh, look at what I've written." Now at that stage, they might not be able to tell you what it is, but they're happy that they're writing. So just random scribbles, because they have an idea that, oh, when you pick up a pen or a pencil, you can scribble and that's writing. That's a good start. Now they move on to the next stage where they can do the scribbles, sometimes do some pictures there, and they can tell you what they've written. That's the next stage of writing. Now, how fast children get to this stage depends on the child, but usually we would expect that in the early years, in the nursery, before they start reception or foundation, they'll be able to do the first three things that we see on the by the end of nursery. They should be on the third example that we have. So they have individual shapes and they look like letters. Usually by the end of nursery, most children can write their names and they can write it properly. What I would usually say to parents is, when they're learning to write their names, let them learn the correct letter formation and let them learn to use capital letter to start it and then the right size of letters. So if their name is John, for instance, it will be a capital J, a small O, H, and N. Okay, so those are important things for them to learn. So if your child is progressing through the stages of writing, they're doing well. If they are at the bottom one, by the end of nursery, they're on the right path, because they now understand that scribbles, when you put something on paper, you are writing. Right, let's move on to the next slide. I just thought I'd give us examples of what writing might look like. Now, they move on where they have some letters. You can see that, the S, that child has just written what they think, what their thoughts look like. So there's some real letters they use randomly, and sometimes they will be able to say to you, "Oh, this is what it means." Okay, this is what it means, but it hasn't followed sound or anything. They just know the letters and they're writing it. Good evening, welcome. I can see you guys. Welcome. Stafumi Taiwu, welcome. Right, so individual, then they move on. They start using individual letters to represent initial words. Look at that one. It says, "My cat is brown." Now, most teachers will be able to read this. The sounds in the word is represented. So my cat is brown. You can see that child understands the sound. Let's move on to the next slide. Just going to turn off this. Okay. Now look at the progression from representing the initial sounds in words to more than one letter used to represent a word. So I play with my dog. This child, you can see they're already learning their phonics. They're already transferring what they've learned into writing. So what I would say is, in the early stages, foundation, year 1, year 2, even up to, most children still have, spellings, but most children still struggle with spelling correctly. I'd say take it easy with the children so that they don't get discouraged with, "Oh, that's not how to you can show them how to spell it, but don't make a big fuss when they make mistakes, so that they don't get discouraged with writing." And that's important. I play with. We always have that joke when they say when they write, and I say that's with. It's not with. And then we would have that joke of, when you're allowed to stick your tongue out and things like that. It's helping them remember that, oh no, you don't need that, you need this one, so that they're encouraged. So when they write, we make a big fuss of, oh, well done, come and read it to me, what does it say, and all of that. So we would now move on from there. You can see the progression. I play with my friend. You can see that in this next stage, this child already is already understanding that how to spell with is a th, is not a f. And interestingly, children in England, we live in England. Children in England, there's a way, well, most people in England actually, some people speak with that, not saying the th properly, and it affects writing. So we have that problem at school. So I play with my friend. We like to jump rope. You can see that that child is making progress. So usually by the end of year one, I'd expect children to be at that stage. And then from there on, they move on to fluency, where most of their words are now spelled correctly. So there's a progression with writing. Now, depending on what part of the world you are, and even depending on what part of the world you are, what I would say is, when you go to parents' evening, ask for, you know, apart from asking how your child is doing, ask for a sample of good writing. Ask the teacher, can you show me what, a year, what you expect of a year, what sort of writing you expect for a year two child, or can you show me what sort of standard of writing you expect for a year six class? So it gives you a benchmark. Now, your child might be above that or might not be up to that level, or it just gives you an idea of what level of writing or what quality of writing is expected of the child. So that's for that. So how do we develop writing skills? How do we help our children develop writing skills? Next slide, please. We must surround them with rich language. Make sure that there's writing, there's access to reading all around them. Talk to them about anything and everything. Talk about everything around you. When they're younger, we talk about, oh, it's a red ball. So we're describing the things that we see. And as they grow, it doesn't stop. We can say, okay, you're looking at something, you say, oh, it's beautiful. What's another word for beautiful? Developing their vocabulary helps them to become good writers. There was something years ago we called Talk for Writing in the days of the old national curriculum, and it encouraged us to do a lot of talking before they ever did any writing, so that they were, expressing their thoughts and they were choosing their words, and that way. And there's something I used to teach. I used to say to the children, before you ever pick up your pen or pencil to write, you must say the sentence in your head. Say the sentence in your head, repeat it and say it out before you start writing. And there's another one we teach them. We ask them to rehearse their words. So if they say, want to write, for instance, I like football. They'll say it out loud, I like football. And as they're writing, they're going, I like football. Now, what that helps them do is help them keep track of their writing, because sometimes their hands can go quicker, and it happens to us as adults. Your hands can go quicker than your brain, and then you miss out some words. But if they're vocalized, we call it sub vocalization, if I remember well. If they're sub vocalizing, if they're saying it, then they'll be able to be aware when they've missed out words. So make your home a reading home. Reading is important for good writing. You must read widely to improve your vocabulary and experience. Then that way you'll be able to write. So share stories, tell stories, use story language. When we were young, there was a lot of, oh, once upon a time, and I remember it would be once upon a time, there was a man. you know. So let them use story language, let them read different types of stories. It helps them when they write. That's important. Give them experiences so that they will want to write about it. So for instance, if you've gone to the seaside, or if you've gone to, we have this forest reserves around us. Give them experiences. Have a list of 50 things you want to do as a family. We want to go to Devon. We want to go and see this. It doesn't even have to be anything, out of this world or expensive. If they have an experience, then it's easy for them to write because they have something to write about. Okay, so don't do like they used to do to us when some of us were young. The compositions we used to write. My best friend. What else did we used to write? My house. And give them something exciting to write about. Okay, so experiences to write about, and let them see you as a writer. A lot of adults don't write, and they want their children to write. So let them do the writing for you. Write, okay, we're going shopping. Write the list. Let them. Handwritten letters seem to have gone out of fashion. Handwritten cards, those sort of things encourage the children to write. And like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. I still have I have my house. I have lots of cards that children have written to me, notes that they've written to me in class, and and for me it's perfect because the child has made the effort to write it. So let the children see you as a writer. I still have a journal, and I hope that those of us that are listening write a journal, or you write notes when you study your Bible. Her handwriting is important. Writing things with your hand, even though typing is good. It's good, but when you write with your hand, there's a way your brain thinks and transmits the information. So write something that you can watch the news together. Well, I'm not a fan of the news, but you can let me let me backtrack.
Confession.
I don't like watching the news, just not. Yeah, I mean there's BBC Roundup. We used to do that with children as well. BBC Roundup, where they have news and interesting stuff. They can watch that and then write a summary of what it is they've learned from it. Watch a movie together and put it for the older children. Have a plot twist. What if, or have a change of character? Those sort of things. So using a familiar story to rewrite their own. So in Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, can we change the main character to somebody else? Can we do, if we don't have the dwarfs? Can we have something else? So that it gives them the incentive to write. So the strategies help. Those strategies can help. Can we have the next slide, please? Okay. Okay, I've already talked about that. Encourage them to make marks from the early age. What you just need to do is to guide them to ensure that, okay, this is where we write, this is what we write on. Okay, and then give them the freedom to go on. So provide opportunities for them to write, shopping lists and all of them. Use their interests to inspire them to write. As they grow, they go through different phases. I remember when my son was young, it was Power Rangers. I didn't like those Power Rangers thing. I didn't like them for one bit, but some of them like trains, some of them
Yep.
like whatever
Thomas the
it is.
Tank
Thomas
Engine.
the Tank Engine. Which one was the other one? There are plenty of them. As long as
Noddy.
as long as they are wholesome, and they're not one of those dark
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah, if the character they like, you can use it as inspiration for writing. So use their interest. They can turn their favorite naughty book into a comic, for instance,
Mm.
and draw stick figures and draw speech bubbles and all of that. They are writing. Okay, and make sure, like I said earlier, make sure they can write their names accurately, form letters correctly. We struggle in school with children who have learned to write their names, for instance, but who have only learned to write it in capital letters.
Mm.
Now, because that's what they have learned, they have
Mm.
to unlearn it.
Mm.
And probably because they've only learned capitals. I don't have the, you know, the
Research
the
information.
research information as far
Mm.
as that is concerned. But I would say if you're going to, teach them those things, teach them properly.
Mm.
Let them know that this is my name. I start with a capital letter and I put these letters after it. Now they might not, if that's early years or nursery, they might not know what those letters are per se at that point, but
Mm.
they would have learnt it correctly. And
Mm-hmm.
then when they understand it, they'll now say, "Oh, that's like in my name," and they,
Mm-hmm.
they always do that. They always do that. Oh, that's a B. My name has a B. So they're making the connection,
Mm.
but let them learn it properly. And the letter formation, if you have young children, when they start writing, please go and research or ask their school and ensure that the letters are being formed properly. I find that once they develop a bad habit, it's difficult to change. So some children will write a D and they'll write a C and put a line. Now, once they've learnt it, it's difficult to unlearn.
Mm.
Now, if that child is going to go on and start doing a joint handwriting,
Mm.
they're going to struggle with joining that, because a joint the cursive, the
C
joint
and L.
handwriting, yeah, that's a C and L. And
Mm.
when they bring their work to me and I say to them, that D is not, you haven't written it properly, and I'll show them how they wrote it, they look at me like, are you a magician? But I know. I know. And they write a C and put a stroke and say that's an A. No, please find out what the correct way. Some adults don't know it as well. I've learned some of my bad habits as I was teaching in letter formation. You won't even know you're doing it.
Mm.
When I write my R now, I have to be conscious. I don't know how come that one letter I write it from the bottom up, and that's not how to write it. There's no most letters start like, I don't even know. I'm trying to remember now. You see, I can't even think about it. But when I write it, I
But when you
notice.
write, it just comes automatically.
I say to myself, that's not how to write an I. Okay, so you can look on YouTube, you can look online. There's different, and most schools have their own handwriting scheme that they follow. Just make sure that the children are forming their letters properly from an early age, so that they don't develop those habits. Okay, let's move on.
Okay.
Don't let me, I can't keep talking about letter formation. Okay, take notebooks on trips, encourage them to write, make marks, draw. Sometimes it's not just about all the story writing and all of that. It could be them drawing a picture and labeling it, or just writing, phrases, keywords from the trip. For instance, if you go to London Eye, what was the shape of the wheel? What did it feel like at the top? And those sort of things, what did they see? So just, writing about their experiences. Look at their writing together, talk about what you like, and why you like it. Or you have formed your properly here. Well done, I like that. You remembered. And the children, I would give them targets in the year one, early primary. So your target this week is to write your F properly or your S properly, and they would proudly come and show you when they've done it properly. So, um, being sensitive about their age and being age appropriate when you're correcting them, so that they don't get discouraged with, you know, from writing because you are correcting so much. So, value all attempts they make at writing, and encourage them and show them how to do it properly. Games, Scrabble, word games are brilliant. They encourage, you can play the games, you can look up new words and write sentences together. And magnetic letters, when they're young, if you can have a, a complete set, not just one set, several sets, so that they can use those letters to make their sentences when they start. We do that in the early years, and it helps them so that it's not like writing where they have to rub out the wrong bit. The magnetic letters, they just move them around. So the child makes a word, and you say to and you say, look at it. Does it does it look like cat? If for instance they've put k ant, and then we go k at, what's missing? They can easily move an a and put it in the middle. So using magnetic letters at the early stages is really good. And if you have more than a couple of sets, then they have all the letters they need to write sentences. Right, let's move on. Mindful of the time. Right, journal writing, I've talked about that. You know, funny enough, I was looking in my shed yesterday. I was looking for something, and I found a jar of we used to, at the end of the day when the children were much younger, just write what we're thankful for on a piece of post-it, and we'll put it in the pot. So simple things like that. So write letters, let them write to the grandparents, let them give them writing prompts, give them ideas. If you had £1 million, what would you do with it? If you became the prime minister, what would you do? If you were the daddy in this house, they would like that one, or the mommy. So those sort of things. Cut out pictures from magazines with different characters and locations. Let them choose the characters, let them choose the location, where's the story happening, those sort of things, and then use that as inspiration. So help them to generate ideas before they start writing. Writing cold turkey is hard, even for adults. So use the inspiration, let them draft and revise. So when we make writing a one-time event, just write it and it's done, then they don't learn that can actually revise your work and redraft it and make it better. So when they've done the first one, we'll look at it. Oh, what else can we add? Can we add some adjectives? Can we make it more interesting? And then talk about, oh, what happens after the man goes to the shops? What happens next? And then they can go and add more to it. Now, if we have helped them to keep their enthusiasm, then they're happy to do those sort of things. When you give them more ideas, they say, "Oh, okay, I'll go and add that to it." So it's important that we keep there. The boys, with unfortunately, a lot of boys are reluctant to write because they just, I don't know, I don't know if it's a boy thing. Many, like few boys that are really good at writing, but many of them will just write basics. So it's helping them, keep the imaginative side on and encouraging them. And sometimes, when they finish writing, I would say, oh, come and read it to the class. You can do that at home. Oh, come and read us your story. Or if they're really proud of it, you would see that as soon as they have one auntie that they like or uncle that they like that's coming, they want to read it to them as well. So those sort of things. Just keep the writing going. Keep it positive. Next slide,
Okie dokie.
please. Okay, so the bones for writing as they get into year 2, moving on to year 3 and all of that. This one is called VCOP. I think there's one they call, I can't remember, VoIP. They're different acronyms, basically just things that should be part of a good piece of writing. So vocabulary, by the time they get into year 2, they're, in fact, from year 1, they're already doing nouns, adjectives, they're doing verbs, they're doing adverbs, all those sort of things. When they write, those things should come into play. So connectives, how are you joining your sentence? The boy went towards the door, and so they join it with another sentence, and the sentence becomes longer. So those are the sort of things we start teaching by the end of year 1, year 2. How do they begin their sentence? We always say to them, we always agree in my class that sentences do not have to begin with the, because they become very boring. So, VCOP, so how is your sentence beginning? Yesterday, lately, unfortunately. So, well, as they go, as they grow, as they progress through school, you want them to start, vary their sentence openers so that their sentences don't become boring. Sometimes I pick up a book, a storybook, and I say, let's explore what this book is like. How are the sentences beginning? So they would look, they say, oh, this one starts with and, that the next sentence starts with but, the next sentence starts with yesterday, the next sentence starts with after that. So they are seeing, I said, do you see why you enjoy reading the books? Because the author hasn't used the, and the author hasn't, put so many ands in the book that has made it boring. So vocabulary, the connectives, the openers, and punctuation. Now, as they go through school, in year one, for instance, it's mainly capital letters and full stops. Some children will go on and use question marks, and some will go on and use exclamation marks. But by year two, they're using all of those consistently. They're using commas. They're using, what else do they do in year two? They're using semicolons and all of that. And then they move on. And, by the time they get into year six, there's a range of punctuation that should appear in their writing. And when they do year six SATs, that's what the markers look out for. So it's asking, the teachers to say, what is the standard expected of my child, and how can I help them? Of course, using the dictionary, make sure they know the meanings of words. Using the thesaurus, make sure they're looking for a better alternative. Like I always say to them in my class, said is the most boring word. What other word can we use? Even in year one, they would tell you. They'll tell you, we don't want to say said, we want to say replied, we want to say responded, we want to say shouted, and finding synonyms of the word, more powerful versions, more powerful verbs. And of course, we've talked about spelling, helping them to choose the homonyms, homophones. The homophones are the ones that sound alike. Homonyms are the ones that are spelled the same. They'll learn those things. It's keeping on top of what they're learning in school and helping them practice at home is the most important part of. So I mean, if for instance in school they say, oh, this week we're writing recounts. The recount is writing about something that has happened, or they will say, oh, this week we're writing instructions. Now the language structure you would use for writing instructions is different from the language structure you will use for writing recounts, which is basically a recall of what has happened. So yeah, basically having an idea of what the child is learning at school and helping reinforcing that at home is important to help them, do the best with their writing. So don't forget the VCOP, vocabulary, connectives, openers, punctuation. All of these things are online, and a lot of them are free. If you have primary age children, Twinkle is a good website to look at. Now let's look at how the next slide. It's about sentences, and I think that's the last one. I told you we will finish. No boring sentences. So, the 5 W's and the H. They are fantastic when it comes to writing sentences. I would do this activity with a year one class. So no, once they can understand what you're saying, you can play this game. So we will start with the boy sat. What kind of boy? The little boy sat. Where did he sit? The little boy sat on the mat. It's still that same one sentence is expanding. Where was the little boy? Inside the warm room. The little boy sat. How did he sit? Quietly. Where did he sit? On a colorful mat. So we can use who when they write, pick a sentence and say, let's improve that sentence. And let's use the 5 W's and the H. So who, what, where, when, and how. And by the time you include this in your in the sentences, you would have satisfied the VCOP. That you can look at the last sentence now. Late in the evening, you can see a comma. Inside the warm room, the little boy sat quietly on a colorful mat. There's adjectives in that sentence. There's adverbs in that sentence. There's a comma. There's a good opener. So it's those little things that make, you know, give the children, the confidence to keep writing. This sort of activity, for instance, is not a story, but it's something that would interest boys, for instance, because they can see the difference that, the answers to the questions are making in their sentence. So, yeah, use the five W's and the H to help them write their sentence. So when they make up a sentence, I'll say to them, think about the five W's and H. How can we use that to make this sentence better? So for me, it's not about how long their writing is. It's about how well they've written. What have they thought about? Have they thought carefully about their writing? Have they used some of these skills to help them improve the quality of what they've done? So that's a brief overview of writing. It's I mean, we could spend days and months talking about writing, but in a nutshell, I hope that helps.
It helps a lot, because even personally, there's so many things, right, starting from the beginning that you said, writing helps confidence. I wish you, these are the kind of things that I look out for when you talk, things that builds a child, um, things that gives a child an advantage or puts them ahead, if you understand what I'm trying to say. So when I hear that writing, I mean, I think there was another word that you said as well, apart from confidence. Um, so when they can write, you see confidence. I don't know what the other thing it is that you said as well.
It promotes self-esteem.
Self-esteem, okay, which was still talking about confidence. Is still talking about assurance and, being who you are and being able to express yourself, and I think that is brilliant, again, because I've just started something yesterday about our children knowing their worth and how God perceives them and how important they are. Like I said, in this present time and age where everybody seems to be, not everybody, but a lot of children are suffering low self-esteem. There's a lot of mental health that even NHS cannot cope with among children. I see you have a program coming up next March. I say next month.
Next month.
For anybody that want to be part of, I don't even know. You didn't ask me, so let me zip. Okay. But do you get what I'm saying? Obviously, you can see I'm excited because it means he's going to enlighten some children, he's going to educate some children, he's going to help them. And I'm just doing it from a biblical perspective at the moment. I've always had a lot of young people who gave in to temptation, peer pressures, things they shouldn't do. Why? Because they didn't know their worth. They didn't know how special they are. They can't stand in front of the mirror and look at themselves and say, I'm fearfully and wonderfully made in the image of God, if you understand what I'm saying. There's one woman I recently started following on YouTube. And she's decided, she was a teacher, and she's got two young children, and she's decided to homeschool, and she's using the world as her teaching ground for her children. And right now she's taking them to a foreign country completely. And one of the things she's getting them to learn is foreign language. And I'm not talking French down the road, Spanish down the road. I'm talking foreign, something that you're not going to come across very easily. And they're learning culture. They're learning so many things. And one of the things that happened in one of their trips to one of these foreign countries was that people wanted to touch them. And she has taught her children to say, no, thank you. Don't do that. and she was affirming her children when her children did that. So when people came over wanting to touch them, and they was like, please don't touch me, I don't want you to touch me. So it's building the confidence to be able to say no. I'm all for that for children. I think it's also that part of, when somebody wants to touch them inappropriately and things like that,
Everything.
the
In every way.
yeah, the confidence to be able to say no and feel comfortable saying no. There's nothing wrong in saying no. I'm an advocate for my children or any children saying, no, that's not appropriate. These are boundaries. It's okay for a child to set boundaries and say, don't touch me, don't come near me, and know that that's not correct. So as soon as I heard you say, a child being able to write gives them self-esteem, gives them self-worth, gives them confidence. Wow, I'm right there. So I'm going to hand over to you because it seems like there's stuff that you want to say.
If I it's just I'm just remembering instances of when children will kick off in class. They will have a meltdown because of writing.
Wow.
Like, it will be like full blown, I can't do it, it's too hard. Now that child has got zero self-esteem. They have ruled themselves out completely, and there's a lot we can do at home. A lot. All of these little things, it might seem it's really important, and just being on the ball, asking the teachers, what does it look like? It doesn't mean you're going to stick it on the freezer and say this is how you must write. It gives you an idea of what's missing. What's missing in my child's, writing that is in this piece of writing. And all for me, it's like doing a sentence a day. For instance, if that standard piece of writing has good openings, then do lots of practice about sentence openings. You don't have to do a whole lot of writing. Just focus on that area and then move on to another area. For me, like we always say, it's the intentionality. It's a being present. It's having the time. It's deciding that this is my main assignment for now.
Important. Yeah.
This is more important than any other thing. And that's it.
Prioritizing. Yeah. We need to, honestly, I recently came also across a case, I think in Minnesota. It went viral. I don't know whether you came across it, but this woman, obviously from a rundown locality, forgive me, Americans, I know you don't use locality, but that's what we do here. And obviously they were going to state school, and the child is supposed to be in grade 4. So I think you might know what grade 4 in America is. But the child couldn't write. He could not write. And she had
how many we have in England.
Wow. And she had pressed every button, gone to the council, made just reaching out that at this age, this child can't write. But this is where I'm going with this. And the woman that I say I follow, she watched it. She saw it as well. Somebody brought it to her attention. And again, the crunch of it, and I like the way this woman addressed this topic, this issue. The owner of the child broke down and said government was not. In fact, I think their local news, it was even on their local news on TV, they carried it as well. She's weeping, she's breaking down that the local authority are not educating her children, correctly or appropriately or whatever. But the long and short is, teachers and mothers who are in the field, they say, yeah, number one, that Minnesota is not brilliant for this kind of thing in the first place. And then secondly, her locality is not even known for educated children anyway. Then you are spending all this time pursuing all these people. Why don't you take it on board? Why doesn't it become your priority? Why doesn't it become something that you take on board? And this woman put it this way. She said, let me say something to you. In a couple of years' time, she said, God forbid, that child ends up in a detention center or locked up. is that child going to go to the local authority, you didn't teach me to write? Or is the child going to go to the parents and said, you failed me? Who's the child going to go to?
Yeah. So it's a primary assignment.
Yeah.
It
Who's the
is.
child going to go to? The child is not going to go to the local authority. The child is going to come to you. So, mom, dad, where were you? Why didn't you help? Why could you? And this woman actually offered, she said, look, all you need is 15 minutes a day. I guarantee you your child will read and write.
Oh,
That's what
yeah.
she said.
Yeah. Yeah.
She said 15 minutes a day, which is coming back to what you said, sis, about time, intentional, prioritizing. How important is it to you? We've been encouraged to shift this responsibility to the church, to the local authority, to carers. Do you get what I'm saying, sis? So, yeah, and then when things are not falling into place, because we've used our Tinkerbell wand and it's not wanding, and we're like, yeah, so the local authority are not doing this, but you're failing your primary assignment.
Yep. We've got to be. We've got to be there. We've got to, I don't remember. I learned how to read before I went to school. I learned how to
Exactly.
read at home.
Exactly. Same thing with my children. I told you, my children, because like I said, they're popping out of the womb, I'm taking them to the library. I registered them in the library. Probably all my children's library things probably is older than them, in the sense that they couldn't even read when they were already registered in the local library and taking books. So, that woman said 15 minutes a day a child will read and write. 15 minutes a day is all it takes.
Yeah.
And she also said something as well. She said, look, I volunteer to send you the books, the materials. But she, you know why she put the challenge out? She said, because I know you won't do it. She says, I know you will not do it.
I mean, there's so much around us. Amazon, everywhere. There's just too much around us for us to access. We can't pass the buck. It's just down to us to help our children, and I don't know. If you need to pay someone to help you, pay them. Learn
That's
what they're
another
doing.
thing.
Support the child. If you're going to, most people would not think about, let me get them a writing tutor.
Why not?
Well, I don't know. And they'll say, he has to pass the maths. Okay, I agree they have to pass the maths, but let them learn the writing.
How about legibility? Because if the
exactly.
teachers can't read what you're
Yeah.
writing,
Yeah.
many people, do you know, you can probably testify to this, people don't know that in GCSEs and A levels, and even at university level, many people are losing points because of legibility. Because
yeah.
if the teacher,
If you
this
can't
is one
read
of the
it,
yeah, that was one of the things I learned. I think I learned it in higher institution, to be honest with you, from a lecturer. He says, if I can't read your writing, I'm putting a stroke through it. That's it.
Exactly.
Because it's taking too much time, and I've got a pile of what's his name that I've got to go through, and I'm struggling to read this one thing that you're saying. He said, whether it's correct or not, I'm going to put a line through it, and I'm going to go. So is that a 2 marker? Is that a 3 marker? Those are points that you're losing between an A star and whatever. So legibility is big deal. We must be if you do go into a profession like doctors or lawyers, where you attain the position where you have transcribers who will transcribe your writing, fantastic. But until you get there, legibility, it must be legible.
Yeah. Some schools teach handwriting, some schools don't. So it's down to us to, ensure that, the children write. But when we were growing, we had those 2D exercise books.
That was exactly,
we had
thank you.
learn to write. My parents used to buy this holder. I don't know, I can't remember. I saw it in one shop recently. the book had a pencil on the
Mm-hmm.
on the cover, and you did the strokes, and you
Mm-hmm.
did,
Mm-hmm.
so you practice. So
Yes.
we just need to, go back to
Yeah.
basics and
You know,
do
you were
those
talking
things.
about the direction of letters and how
Yeah.
we write it in YouTube and things like that. I remember the 2D that you said, because I remember buying them from £1 shops and places like, which were really cheap sort of shops. And you get them like £1 and you just get them and it gives you the shape, it gives you the arrow in which the direction of the letter
Direction.
is
Yeah.
supposed to go, so they will follow and those kind of things. And to be honest, I did use those 15 minutes. I don't know where I got that 15 minutes from, but I did use those 15 minutes theory for my children. All I need is 15 minutes a day, that's all. 15 minutes to be able to practice those letters, practice the times table, practice the alphabet, practice whatever it is. That
Practice
15 minutes on a regular basis.
spellings.
And that includes Sunday, by the way. No days were taken out. This is not the Sabbath. So, so
I mean,
uh, yeah, and children being able to read before going to school or write, I think it's a huge advantage and confidence building as well when they
is.
get there.
It is.
Again, giving them that head start
It is.
in
It is.
life, in every. Yeah.
I testify to that. My when we moved to the UK, my daughter she was a September birthday, so she ended up in reception, and by half term she had read all the reception books.
Mm-hmm.
By the end of the first term, she had read all the year one books.
Mm-hmm.
They went and borrowed from year two books, and
Exactly.
that head start, I can
It's
still see it in
huge.
her
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
She's usually always ahead of her class
Mm-hmm.
because she's
Mm-hmm.
on that, she's on
Mm-hmm.
that, she's on that. Yeah, so yeah, let's
Encourage.
let's invest
Yes, invest.
invest in these children,
Definitely.
invest
Time,
in them.
money, energy, intentionality.
Mm.
Please, let's do it like we are encouraged to. Um, I don't know. I think definitely these are resources that we should run with, especially with the educational standard and all the things that we're hearing nowadays. Please get involved. Get involved. Get involved. Don't wait for somebody else that's going to do it. Do it yourself. And I believe that it also creates time for you to also bond with your children during those 15 minutes, those guaranteed 15 minutes every day as well. Use that opportunity. So yeah, sis, I think we've done a good job.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you very much, and we'll see you
See
next
you.
week Tuesday by God's grace.
Yeah.
We'll be together again. So thank you. I'm going to let you go and
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
enjoy the rest of your evening, ma'am. Take
Thank
care.
you, ma'am.
See
Bye.
you. So everybody, thank you for your time. As you can see, Sister Folakemi has come to bless us immensely again with this information. Please do run with it. I mean, like I said, I'm trying to equip us in every way, shape, or form that we can. So please, let's put this to good use in the life of our children. That confidence, that head start in life. And do our children need it? Yes, they do. Every child needs that head start in life, because life is just not, it's not just going to hand anything to anybody on a plate of gold. So in any way that we can help propel them forward and give them that head start, I'm going to say, please, let's go all out and do it. So I'm so grateful for all your time, especially all the people that I think came but didn't say anything. God bless you. We appreciate you. So we've come to an end. Like I said, Sister Folakemi is here with us again next week. And then in June, she's back with us again. We're still looking at how, you know, we can enhance the potentials of our children and give them all the opportunities that is available to them. So at this stage, everybody, there's nothing left than for me to hand you over to the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Have a wonderful day, morning or night, wherever you are, everybody. Take care. God bless you all and see you soon.
It's mighty upon upon me, and no weapon fashioned against me, they shall never prosper. I am blessed of the Lord, his hand is mighty upon me, and no weapon fashioned against me, they shall never prosper. Praying child, godly children, we are never defeated, always winning, we're living in fear of God. Praying child, godly children, we are never defeated, always winning, we're living in fear of God. Like the holy plan, round about your table, children are the heritage of God. I am seeking first the kingdom of God, cause I am a praying child. I gotta pray just to live I am a praying child. I am a praying child. Whether I am black or white, I am a praying child. Yes, I have to pray. I am a praying child. Yes, I have to pray. I am a praying child.